Hi there. My name is Renee Hobbs, and welcome to LSC 530. This is the fall 2014 semester. Today's date is September 29th, and I am here with the crew of Tammy and Michael and Lisa and Christine, and some of you are watching us synchronously, and some of you are watching us non-synchronously, but we're glad you're here. We are, I think, are in week 4 of the fall semester. And this was a pretty big milestone week because this week students had their first reflective essay that was due. So we'll hear a little bit from you about your experience of that first piece of really substantial written reflection. Who wants to share a little bit about what that writing experience was like for you?
I will.
Thank you.
Well, my piece really came from my heart and was very to the point in how I felt about technology chasing me. I am a library media specialist, and I am supposed to be on the top of my game, knowing all the media that's out there because I have teachers coming at me all the time. And I feel like it's catching up to me, and it's going to bite me, and I need to know everything that's out there. And believe me, I am catching up, and I'm learning. What this course has done for me, and truly, is that it's pushed me to do the things that I'm supposed to be doing. It's pushed me to get a Twitter account. It's pushed me to be a part of the social media community. And it's really paying off because I love tweeting, and I love telling my staff members that they should be on Twitter because of the professional development purposes. They're very afraid of it, just like I was. And so this course has really pushed me to have to do this stuff, and I need to do it to be a good LMS, because how I thought I could get away with not doing this and being a good LMS is beyond me.
That you got us off to a good start with that. It's almost a conversion sensibility here. So I'm not sure how everybody else feels, but let's talk a little bit about your experience of really doing that reflective writing, where you are integrating what you're reading and what you're learning in the course. Who would like to share?
Yes, I'll take a stab at this.
Thank you, Michael.
I would have to say it wasn't really the writing that I was concerned with. I felt pretty confident with that, and I went by a lot of, I think Kimberly Reynolds made some great points about the whole transmedia piece, and the other points that I focused on were the orbis punctilius. I don't know how to say it very well, but the whole concept of self-identification and teaching children how important it is to grow up. There's a lot of different themes, a lot of great things that we could get from, wonderful characteristics that we could get from children's literature with all the stuff that she mentioned in her book. So I really mentioned a lot from her, and also from my own class using the WordPress software, which is another experience in and of itself, because as I was doing the reflective piece, I had trouble. You could either put it in visual, and then you get no visual and like all text, or you get all text and then you get like videos and stuff, so you have to compromise between which ones you want to choose, and still working on it. But overall, I think I'm not going to complain about the piece. I pretty much enjoyed doing it.
I'm glad to hear that you got a chance to really think through how Kimberly Reynolds' ideas about children's literature affect the way you think about your own work. Librarians are involved in curating work, and some of the ideas that Kimberly Reynolds invite us to think about our role as curators. And Kimberly Reynolds also delves into the psychosocial dimensions of what makes for the pleasures associated with children's literature. And so, Michael, your comments really suggest to me that you're thinking deeply about that other role we have in providing access to children and being responsible and respectful of their pleasures with a variety of different forms of stories. Thanks so much for sharing that. Other insights on what came, this process of using writing as a tool for reflection. Did it work for you? What did you find yourself thinking as you were writing, as you went through the process of working through that reflective process? Why don't you give us a little highlight about what we can expect to see in your writing? Christine, Erin, Lisa?
I can discuss a little bit.
Thanks.
So, I don't know, reflective bits are always more challenging for me because, I don't know, I'm not someone who's great at looking at my own experience of participating in something sometimes. I think that, you know, it was pretty interesting, sort of pulling from, like, the readings and what is affecting me most. And, yeah, there's been a lot of stuff I really liked. I really liked sort of the aspects of class where we've been discussing and thinking about and reading about, like, childhood development, and also ideas about childhood and how those have evolved over time. And so that's been kind of something I wasn't expecting to have so many thoughts about. But it is that's sort of been the area that's affected me most. So I kind of focused on that a little bit.
I'm kind of glad to hear that you have. I do feel that the reflective writing is a place for you to explore your intellectual curiosity and to write about what you care about. And that may actually help allow you to focus on something that you want to develop as your own independent project for the end of the semester. I don't know about the quality of advising that you are experiencing in your graduate program, and I can only say that in general I give you know, sort of one picture to the grad students that I mentor and supervise, and that is to think about grad school as a time when you get to develop at least three, maybe more than three, but three is good, at least three clusters of expertise, of professional expertise. Because when you come out of a master's program, especially in a professional program, you want to be able to go to your future employer or whatever your next stage of your career is and say, look, I know something really meaningful and significant about this, something meaningful and significant about this, and something meaningful and significant about this. And chances are that those clusters of expertise are related to stuff you already care about or already good at, or something that you discovered in your learning journey through grad school. And so one of the opportunities that this course presents to you is for you to you know, build one of those clusters of expertise so that you can claim some authority and some knowledge about something that you think is going to be personally or professionally meaningful to you. That's why I'm so looking forward to reading your reflective essays. So, all right. Thanks for sharing. I'm glad to get a sense that you survived that first big learning experience. Here's what's on tap for us tonight. I want to remind you that you are invited to join us for the Digital Shift, which is happening all day Wednesday, October 1st. The Digital Shift is a unique, fully online conference presented by the School Library Journal and Library Journal. And my friend Kathy Ishikawa is the editor of the School Library Journal, and I feel very honored and grateful that she has invited me to be one of the presenters for this really cool online, fully online conference. There's a lot of topics to be explored, and it's a professional development program for librarians. So if you have time to pop in, it's a free program. It's free to register. I think my talk is at about 11 o'clock, and I get 10 minutes to talk about my new project. And maybe you went to Google. Or maybe you saw my tweets about this project. But if you type in Hobbs School Library Journal, are you guys seeing that? Me using the Google here to find this thing? Are you guys seeing it?
Yep, I am.
Okay, thank you. Just checking, just making sure, because I can't always tell what you guys are seeing when I'm going online. And I was really happy last week when they did an article about my new IMLS grant on Media Smart Libraries, and they also talked about my work with fair use and copyright, and I'm excited about that because I'm starting a new initiative on October 6th. And they also talked about my horoscopes project, my research work, and then my propaganda project. So I was pretty happy about the good publicity, and of course the chance to talk about all those topics, especially the Media Smart Libraries project with school librarians especially, is going to be really important. I will be hiring for, if any of you are graduating in December, anybody raise your hand or wiggle your fingers if you're graduating in December. Woohoo! Okay, I will be hiring for that job. That's the project manager for the Media Smart Libraries project. So I'll be sure to send out the job description for all of you, because it's a great, it's a 2-year project, but it's a pretty good deal. Okay, so you've given me some, by writing those evaluations, you've given me some feedback on the first month of class. And I did want to talk a little bit about what I'm observing on the Twitter sphere. This week was a little less active. Uh-oh.
Can I just say one thing? Is that okay?
Please.
Well, I'm finding again that I am creating new. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm finding again that I'm creating new posts in Twitter, and they're not appearing in the LSC 530. They appear in my list of my tweets, and they appear. Now I forget the other spot, but they're not appearing in LS 530, even if I put hashtag LS 530.
How weird. So, Tammy, you're saying the same problem you had at the beginning is the problem you're having now.
Yes.
It still continues.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like I'm seeing your tweets, but okay. I could be wrong, and I might be seeing them without the...
Is there one that's 38 applications for the iPad? And
you know what I'm going to do is at the end of this meeting, you're going to hang on just a little bit after the call, and we're going to do a little diagnostic, okay?
Sure.
That's peculiar, and I want to make sure I can understand it better. If you're still experiencing it, that's not a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am pleased that some of you are starting to use Twitter as a dialogic space, as a place for sharing. You'll be noticing, of course, if you're following me, that I'm sending out a lot of resources and materials that are really relevant to what I'm reading in the area of children's literature and children's media. So I am hoping that you will, like I think of it this way, 5 minutes a day as a professional development resource. So, so keep up with that if you can. 5 minutes a day. Just check the Twitter stream. For it to really be a meaningful form of professional development, you should try to have about 100 librarians and Rhode Island media specialists and others. About 100 is a good way to start really feeling some of the benefits of using Twitter as a professional development and a research tool. So let's hope you continue with that. Let me go back to the screen share. Here we go. Okay, so today what I'd like to do is let's take a look at President Obama doing a read aloud, because we're about to move into our zone of looking at read alouds. What I'd like to do is, as we watch this little video, very short video, I would like you to notice what characteristics of read aloud is President Obama using. What do you notice about his approach to reading aloud?
Tomorrow, it's where great things happen. The question
We have to
is,
watch the ad
how do we
first.
get
Sorry
there?
about that.
Welcome to Fuse. Fuse is the first and only digital vapor cigarette, designed and assembled in the USA by tobacco experts. Fuse ensures a perfect puff,
Can't I
first
skip
time,
that?
every time.
What a pity.
Fuse. Welcome to tomorrow.
Okay, mute your
This
microphone.
is one of the all-time classics. I love this book, Where the Wild Things Are. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind. Sorry, I'm having page troubles here. And another. Look, he's chasing the dog with a fork. His mother called him Wild Thing. And Max said, "I'll eat you up." But he was sent to bed without eating anything. His mom said, we're not going to have that. That very night, in Max's room, a forest grew. And grew. Help me out here, Sash. And grew until his ceiling hung with vines, and the walls became the world all around. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max. And he sailed off through night and through day. And in and out of weeks and almost over a year to where the wild things are. Whoa. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars. And they gnashed their terrible teeth.
You're disturbing Bo. He's frightened.
Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once, and they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all. Everybody give me your stare, your stare. Just, you got to stare right into it. Right? Don't blink. Don't blink. Pretty scary, huh? That's good. This guy over here, he's all like. And they made him king of all the wild things. And now, cried Max, let the wild rumpus start. And they're doing the wild rumpus. Who can do the wild rumpus? All right, that's good. Come on, I want everybody to do a wild rumpus. Yes, yes, it's the wild rumpus. Now stop, Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all the wild things, was lonely. And he wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. I think he's missing his mommy. And all around, from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes. Roll your eyes. and showed their terrible claws. Where are your terrible claws? Oh, that's a good one. Those are good claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye and sailed back over a year and in and out of weeks and through a day and into the night of his very own room where he found his supper waiting for him, and it was still hot. Yay! Where the wild things are. You guys were excellent wild things. I'm very proud of you. One more roar. Ah!
Okay, so you've just seen President Barack Obama do a read aloud. What did you notice about the characteristics of his read aloud? There were some good characteristics of his read aloud, and there were some not so good characteristics. What did you notice?
Very animated.
Oh, go ahead.
He was very animated, and he figured out how to turn the pages and read and still show the book at the same time, which is not easy. He was away from the kids, though.
Explain.
So he seemed pretty far away from the kids, and so I think it would be difficult for them to really follow. And I think they would have gotten completely out of hand if the book had been because they probably participate because they couldn't really see the book. It was too far away. But anyway, that was my take on it.
That's a pretty good critique. And other observations about what you noticed about his read aloud performance, what you liked about it, and what some of its weaknesses were?
I think one of the things that I really liked a lot about it, which I try to do in my read-alouds, is that when he said, say, you know, someone roared, and he had the students roar, or when, you know, grinding his teeth and stuff like that. I think that's great. The only problem that I find in my classroom when I do that every day is to get everybody back to center after they've roared or after they've, you know, done something where they jumped up and wiggled a little. But I think that the kids really do enjoy that.
Thank you for sharing. Other observations about characteristics of this read aloud that you noted?
I have a comment.
Thank you.
It felt a little bit like he was very aware that there was both an adult audience and a children audience, and that he was kind of trying to present to both at the same time. And he did try to do, you know, the roar and all that stuff, but then at the same time he was saying, you know, oh, this is where the wild things are, and he kind of had an assumption like they already knew what this book was going to be, and maybe some of the kids have read it, but there wasn't but I think he had this like thought like this is, you know, something all the adults already know, and it might not be that interesting for them.
Thank you very much for making that great point. Kimberly Reynolds talked about that idea as the dual address, right, where the children's author may be addressing both an adult and a child audience. And in this case, we're not so sure about Sendek's sense of dual address, but President Obama is certainly aware that there is a grown-up audience of parents and media and a children's audience as well. One of the reasons why I wanted to start us off by looking at this is because tonight I'm introducing to you your second project, which may include you doing a video read aloud. So we're going to learn in the next week or so, we're going to learn a lot more about what makes a good story time, what makes a good read aloud, what makes a good book trailer, what makes a good media review, because our theme tonight is children's media reviews. So I thought President Obama was only just okay at the challenging job of the read aloud. One of the things I observed is that he only occasionally referenced the visual images. He only occasionally invited us to read the visual images, and of course children's picture books do a lot of heavy lifting with the visuals, and so we like to help children learn to make sense of the relationship between the words and the images. Okay, we did a little bit of reading about the future of ebooks for children with that interesting article from Kimberly Guernsey on ebooks, and she introduces us to a lot of cool sources like the Children's Digital Library and some other spaces. At this point, I kind of would welcome your own perspective on ebooks for children, because you come to this class with some beliefs and attitudes about ebooks, and that article gave you a little wider landscape on what's emerging in the ebook world. So at this point, I'd love to hear your reflections on whether or not you think ebooks are an important component of the children's library in either school or public library settings. What's your point of view?
This is Lisa. I think that they have a valuable contribution to make in the classroom. First of all, I think the demands put on school librarians and the number of kindergarten and first graders that come in the door, I mean, it is just invaluable to have some mechanical automated way to read, because it's very difficult when you're reading day after day, keep your voice going. So for that reason, for the librarian's sake, to have an audio book that can read the book and for you, and you can maybe do more cognitive type exercises, talk to them about the images and what might be happening next, put the audio on pause and then ask them or the ebook on pause and ask them, what do you think is going to happen next and why. I just think it's a wonderful addition to having a book and using it as just another kind of a prop.
Okay, Lisa's got a pretty enthusiastic piece of feedback, both for the librarians' energy and talents, and as well as the the value of it itself. Are there others of you who have different perspectives on the strengths and limitations of ebooks in children's school or public library?
Well, can I just make a comment? I did go through and looked at Tumblebook, and I'm finding that with getting new students into the school that don't speak the language, I was very interested in the fact that Tumblebook had some books in Spanish and in French, and having an assistant in the classroom to help a student that maybe doesn't speak English as a second language and speaks Spanish, I think it's fabulous that that student can look at the Tumblebook and hear it in his own language first, and then listen along with the class as, maybe I read it to the class.
Thanks for sharing that great point about the value of ebooks for immigrant children in our multicultural schools. Is there another perspective that you'd like to share about the strengths and the limitations of the ebook in the children's school or public library?
I have a perspective to share.
Thank you, Jordana. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Oh, okay. Am I going now? So I think that in some ways the books can help, say, immigrant children and other students who might have struggles learning to read, but also isn't there the concern that they might, widen the digital divide, especially if students don't have access to these ebooks outside of the classroom?
This is a really important consideration, and Lisa Guernsey's article is a little concerned about the take-up of ebooks happening more in communities where there's a lot of affluence essentially widening and not narrowing that gap. Thanks for sharing that. Other perspectives, your opinion on ebooks for young children in the school or public library? Will you be looking forward to exploring ebooks, or will you be a little bit reluctant to look at them this semester?
I haven't explored ebooks yet, but I do like the fact that you can, when you have an ebook, you can hear the pages turn. That was pretty interesting to me. And that you have 24/7 access. And some students can use that. They don't have to wait for library day every week. But the whole thing is, you know, what students do have access to ebooks at home.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Myself, I'm a little bit on the fence, and I'll share with you my concerns about the very first generation of ebooks, or maybe I guess maybe by Lisa Guernsey's definition, probably the second or third generation, because they actually do have quite a long history. But some ebooks seem to be a little more than kind of a one-hit wonder. And one that I was especially disappointed in was the Morris Lesmore book. Raise your fingers if you've seen that children's book. It's basically it's a print book that when you use your tablet or smartphone, essentially kind of virtual reality movies kind of pop up as you experiment with it. I did experience the sense of wonder that book inspires. But it hasn't stuck with me in that sense, and I'm a little concerned about how challenging it is to design ebooks that have more than just the technological wonder and actually have some real, essentially some narrative staying power. So I think we'll this semester we'll get to look at some ebooks, and hopefully some of you will take the challenge of exploring those as part of the reviewing process. But now I want to keep continuing, because we're really marching down toward thinking a little bit about the professional and the amateur community of reviewers. But before we do that, I want to share with you an approach to critical analysis of media that has been part of my practice for over 30 years. And it's built on the concept of the 5 critical questions of media literacy, which include these 5 questions. Who's the author and what's the purpose? What techniques are used to attract and hold attention? What lifestyles, values, and points of view are presented? How might different people interpret the message differently? And what is omitted? We're going to practice using these critical questions to analyze different kinds of reviews. But before we did, take a look at a video that I made a long time ago to introduce how these questions might look with younger children. This is middle school children reading a Time magazine article about why we should go to Mars. Let's listen. Oh, that's not a good sign. Hold on here. Let's watch it on YouTube. There we go.
Who is the author, and what is the purpose of the message?
This comes from Newsweek magazine, so somebody there probably wrote it. They're trying to get us to think like that going to Mars is a good idea. I think they're trying to teach us what a trip to Mars would be like.
Who is the target audience?
The target audience is adults, because that's who read these magazines. The people that would probably read this would be the people that are already interested in space or science.
What techniques and words are used to attract your attention?
One of the words would be dangerous.
The second word might be expensive.
That's a picture that looks like it's from Mars. They have this picture, but it can't really be from Mars.
What point of view is represented?
He's for it. Just like Natalia said why we should go to Mars.
Here it says, There's a good case for going to Mars.
How might different people interpret the message differently?
People who are worried about taxes might think it's too expensive to go to Mars. People that read science fiction would probably think it would be easy or fun to go to Mars.
What is omitted from the message?
He or she could have said what our financial gain could have been if we go to Mars and what we can find.
Are they all gonna get to Mars? When we start our mission to Mars, how old we'll be when we get there and how long it's gonna take to get to Mars?
Okay, so here you can see that even very young children, middle school children, are pretty good at asking those critical questions about media and analyzing a message. Now, in a way, that's just a simple setup for this activity number 5, which we're going to do now. I think it'll be a little bit fun, a little bit freaky. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to really dig into the wide, wide world of book and media reviews for children and youth. And we're going to try to discuss the similarities and differences between reviews that have different purposes. Reviews where the purpose is library collection development, reviews where the purpose is promotion and marketing, reviews where the purpose is critical analysis and critique, and reviews that reflect a personal aesthetic response. So what we're going to do is we're going to form 4 groups, and we're going to watch the first 3 minutes of 4 different kinds of reviews. We're going to look at a video review of Wreck-It Ralph. We're going to look at a book talk review of Best Fantasy Books Ever. We're going to look at Kirsten E. Collision reviews favorite children's books. And we're going to review a review of Disney's Frozen. Here's how we're going to do it. We're forming 4 groups. Let's see how it works out with the folks who are here live. If you're not watching live and you're watching us after the fact, we hope you're going to participate with your team members. Team A is Michael, Billy, and Tammy. Michael and Billy and Tammy, you guys are both here, right?
I think Michael and Tammy.
Michael
I'm
and
here.
Tammy, you're both here, so you're going to be Team A. So you're going to put your answer here. Whoops. I guess you could spell answer correctly. Let's try it. Let's work on that. There we go. Team B is Valerie, Christine, and Jessica. So Christine, I think you are the only person from your team who's actually there, right? But you know what to do, right? Team C is Erin, Chelsea, and Jordana. And I think Erin and Jordana are here tonight. And Team D, Lisa, looks to me like you are here by yourself. Got it? Okay, so let's see if I can go back to my page. Now you know what team you're on. You saw how I got to that page, right? What I'd like you to do is spend the next 3 minutes watching one of these 4 videos. We're just going to watch 3 minutes. So why don't you guys watch for 3 minutes and then start sharing your responses on the Titan Pad. What you're really trying to do as you watch is consider the reviewer's purpose, target audience, and strategies for attracting and holding attention. Before you begin, oops, hold on here. Before you begin, let me see what questions you have. Okay, live students, give me a thumbs up if you are actually clear on your task right now. Thumbs up? I'm seeing thumbs up. That's good. Okay, take it away, ladies and gentlemen. 3 minutes from now, you'll start working on your Titan Pad. I'll let you write for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and discuss. Feel free to mute your microphones while you watch, okay?
this is a very big deal. We have a
Okay, at this point, you probably are done watching 3 minutes, and now you should turn to the Titan pad and see if you can identify the author, the purpose, the techniques used to attract attention.
Mm, shooter means shooter computer mm, mm, movie.
Okay, if you take about another minute just to complete your ideas on the Titan Pad.
Mm, um, Prion, mm,
If you're done with your comment, you can read over the comments of the other members of our class.
mm, mm, mm.
Okay, even if you're not quite done, I'll have you stop right now. One thing I haven't had a chance to talk to you about is how when I read I love the Titan Pad as a pre-writing tool. It seems to me that it's a really powerful way for us to share our different interpretations and to map out some of the things that are meaningful to us. But the way I respond to that, is by highlighting the ideas that I find most powerful. So if you go back over the last few classes, you'll see that I tend to read over and use bold to identify the ideas that I'm most interested in. Okay, so let's do a little bit of comment on the 4 different kinds of reviews that you watched. We only got to watch one. So Team A, can you guys give us a little taste of what you watched and what you thought about it and why it would even be called a review? What made it a review? Team A?
I'll let Tammy go first.
Oh, I think I have to unmute Tammy.
I think I have to
Sorry about that, Tammy. Now we can
the only thing you have to know about me is I like to just think about things and type and retype and go over and everything. But I did see Wreck-It Ralph, and from what I see in there is he is really interested in the characters and who they are and how they became to be. In the movie, we see that all come about. We find out, I forget the characters' names, but what has happened to them in years gone by and how they ended up to be who they are, and there's a lot of feeling in the movie. So the author also said how we crave more information, and believe me, I went to see it with my daughter, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for sharing, and it really is true that author really talked about the backstory of those characters being something that he craved to know more about. Because we come to honor characters and we want them to have depth, and this author was seeking that. Thanks very much for sharing that. Team B, what piece of media did you look at, and who was the author, and what was the purpose, and what kind of review was it?
I guess it's just me for Team B.
Thanks, Christine.
So ours was best fantasy books ever, and it was, you know, a girl doing a YouTube video about her favorite fantasy books, and she sort of, it was very much her own opinion, and the sort of the things she responded to. Like she said, you know, oh, I like the George R.R. Martin series, that's now become very popular, but the things I like about it are like the fact that I like that he isn't afraid to kill off characters. But she kind of said, it was very much, you know, I like these things in books, not like this is important to me because of such and such. So
Right.
it was very much her opinion and her response.
Right. But we wouldn't say it was well-informed or used evidence very skillfully to defend a point of view, right?
I would not say that, but
But thank you for sharing that. And yet that kind of response is a pleasure, and people gain confidence when they feel they can have an authentic response. The English teacher in me says, if you have an opinion, you got to defend it with reasoning and evidence. And she's doing this for fun, so she doesn't feel the need to play that game, does she? All right, Team C, what review did you guys look at, and what did you notice about its characteristics?
So I think Team C was me and Jordan, right? I think so. And that was the one, it was a girl doing personal review of favorite books of hers for middle grade, middle age students. Like Alice in Wonderland, The Doll People, all very fairly well-known books for that age group. I remember reading every single one of the ones that she actually encouraged. It was a very personal review, not very in-depth or critical. She very much was, she liked using the word lovely a lot. It's a very lovely book, and I guess I just kind of picked up on that a lot. I don't know why it struck me so much.
Jordana, you want to add anything to that?
I think also it definitely wasn't a review that was aimed at the middle school children that these books were written for. It was a review aimed for older teenagers, people our age, and kind of, you know, it was a way for us to kind of think about how we would view the books, not so much about how a child would view it.
Very important point. And there were some qualities of that review that were entertaining to watch. What made it entertaining to watch?
I think it was the fact that she was talking about books that I had read as a child and have actually gone back to over the years. So it was really fun to watch someone else kind of look at these books and talk about the ways in which they enjoyed them. It sort of reminded me of having a book club, or, you know, looking over other people's, you know, favorite books lists, like on BuzzFeed or something. Those are a lot of fun to see.
Especially for those of you who are working with parents or working in a public library setting, never underestimate the pleasure of getting to talk about books we're already familiar with. It doesn't always have to be the newest one out there. We actually like talking about the things we're already familiar with and that are part of the canon, right? In this case, the canon of childhood, right? Or middle grades reading. Thank you so much for sharing that. Lisa, we'll have you go last. You and I watched a crazy piece of video review about Disney movie called Frozen. What comments can you make about the purpose, the author, and the way that video is constructed, its weird point of view?
Well, it was very fast-paced. It right away caught your attention because it was really fast-paced, and he had great graphics. Who he was, or he didn't say who he was. And if I had had more time, I would have delved into that, of course. And it was obviously for adults because he used a few four-letter words. I didn't get a fan of Disney, and he was talking about subversive characters, and he was really I don't know, his thought process was sort of Disney. I couldn't really follow it.
He was showing off a little bit about his grad school understanding of archetypes and tropes. So he was snarky about his interpretation of Disney subverting the archetypes by the Frozen kind of countering some gender stereotypes. One of the reasons why I like doing this activity now is that you guys are about to do some deep dive into the world of professional children's literature and children's media reviews. And it's really important for us when we use reviews as an information resource for curation or for teaching or for collection development or for anything, that we always be thinking about who's the reviewer, what's their purpose, who do they think their target audience is, what techniques are they using to attract and hold my attention, how are my opinions similar to and different from the reviewer, and the most important question of all, what is the reviewer leaving out, what's omitted. So those critical perspectives are really helpful when learning to navigate the very complex world of the children's review community. Later on this semester, we're going to get into a discussion to discover the complicated politics of reviewers. And in Kimberly Reynolds, you may remember the great little story of the founder of children's literature, the Mrs. Moore, the director of the New York Public Library's children's section, and the big fight that she got into with E.B. White over the publication of Stuart Little. So later on this semester, we're going to unpack that particular controversy in order to think a little bit about the relationship between authors and reviewers. So just to preview, that thinking about reviews and reviewers is ultimately going to lead us to thinking a little bit about the relationship between authors and reviewers, because it's a complicated, symbiotic, and messy one that needs good unpacking. So in some ways, now I'm going to take you back to my screen share, and we're going to kind of get to the end of this class. All right, we're going to get to the end of this class. Let's see here. What's next? Can you see my screen now? Okay, so let's do a little preview on what I'm hoping you're going to do next week. These are the non-synchronous activities that I'd like you to complete for October 5th. One is that I'd like you to read and comment on the reflective writing of a peer. So what I'd like you to do is read at least 2 essays by fellow class members and comment on each using the Leave a Comment function to offer a thoughtful response. So this hyperlink takes you to the class roster where, Christine, I'm hoping that when I get to this website, I see that your reflective essay is there. Ah! Where is it? It's not here. So
it's all in there, I just haven't put it up yet.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, that's cool.
I thought I was just going to tweak a couple of things because I thought we hadn't.
That's cool. I'm not going to look at it till midnight, so no problem. Erin's got her reflective essay here. So sometimes, depending on the format, it takes a while to figure out where do you leave a comment. So I'm looking at Erin's right now, And I realized that if I scroll all the way down, oh, she's got an embedded video there. I'm going to go past the works cited. I'm searching around to try to find the leave a comment function. And tell you the truth, I can't find it. So it might be, Erin, oh wait, hold on here. It might be that Erin has not enabled the comment function in her blog. So right now, or after this class, everybody within the sound of my voice should go back and see if you can make sure that you have a comment function so that people can leave. And hold on here. I've got this like emergency message that's saying plug in your computer or you're going to lose power. So hold on, I'm just going to talk amongst yourselves while I go plug in my computer.
I thought we had until tomorrow for the reflective essay. Does anybody else think that? I'm not done.
No, I'm done.
I'm done.
I think it said it was due the 30th, but I kind of assumed like it was due by the 30th. I don't know.
I'm not going to read them till tomorrow, so I think you're good, right? So I think that if it says the 30th, it's the 30th. But so what I'd like you to do, now I have power, I feel better, is make sure that you've got some place on your website that is allows people to leave a comment. Because I'm going to comment. If I can leave a comment, I'm going to try to leave a comment, and then I'm going to do a more thorough evaluation. But make sure that you can read and comment on the reflective writing of at least 2 of the 12 people in this class. Now, the second thing that I'd like you to do is watch this amazing video called Best Practices of a Read Aloud. If there were only, obviously I use a lot of videos in this class. It's an online class, and I'm very much into video as an educational tool. I think this video, where if you click right here, offers the best advice ever on how to read books to children. It's packed with research-based evidence, okay? So that is so cool. So click on that video. It's about 9 minutes long. A really solid piece of insight. And then what I'd like you to do is indicate 1 or 2 ahas that you have when watching that video and share that on the Flipgrid. Does anybody have any questions about that? So we're kind of ramping up to you possibly doing a read aloud. And the third thing that I'd like you to do is dig into some of those review sites that you looked at briefly last week. Contribute to a Padlet wall and learn more about children's media review resources by working with a partner to design an attractive and informative display about the review resource. You need to think about the Padlet wall as like a bulletin board that might exist in your library, right? A bulletin board is an attractive, informative, and attractive display. What you're going to do is you're going to provide information about the professional review that you've been assigned. So Michael and Jennifer, you guys are in charge of reviewing Voya. I've created a blank Padlet wall for you. And if you experiment over here, you can see that you can do all kinds of cool things with your Padlet wall. Look at that. You can modify, change. You can have a field day making a beautiful display. Billy and Amy, I'm hoping you guys will tackle the Horn book. Tammy and Audra, awesome. You're in charge of Common Sense Media. Christine and Lisa, you're doing children's technology review. We have the URI subscription. That children's technology review is behind a paywall. But if you go to the link that I gave you last week in last week's class, you get right to the website through the URI paywall. We don't have enough students to do the New York Times Children's Book Review. What a pity. But Jessica and Jordana, you're going to do the School Library Journal, and Erin and Chelsea, Children's Book Review. What I'd like you to do is work together to design an attractive and informative display about the review resource. Offer your opinions about the strengths and limitations of the review, and then share a link to your Padlet wall via Twitter using the hashtag LSC530. You can think about your target audience as the students in this class, and you can think about your target audience as other library and information professionals who might want to know more about your perceptions of the strengths and limitations of these resources. What questions do you have about this little activity?
I have a question just about how we'll work with our partners. So I'm just thinking, like, we'll probably have to email back and forth a lot to coordinate who's going to do what. And do you have any recommendations for how?
Yes, I'm really glad, Christine, I'm so glad you're asking this question, because that's exactly right. You and your partner have to figure out a way to collaborate. Now, I'm an old lady, so you know what medium I like to collaborate with? The telephone. I like to trade phone numbers and actually talk on the phone. I find it a very efficient way to collaborate. So feel free to exchange phone numbers and just talk on the phone with your partner. That's an efficient way. You, children of the 80s, right, and 90s, right, maybe you guys will use, like, texting, right, and talk to each other that way. On the class roster, you can see is the email of all 12 students in the class. Obviously, an email exchange is a tediously inefficient and boring way to collaborate, but, you know, it might work for you. I don't know. I think you could actually even do a Google Hangout, like what we're doing right now, right? And chit-chat it through. And maybe you have other ideas how you guys might collaborate? What are your thoughts? How else might you collaborate?
It would kind of be cool to do the Hangout, because then you can screen share. And then you can, you know, especially if you're working on the board together, you can sort of show each other, ooh, I like this background with this background.
Actually, I like the idea that maybe you guys assemble stuff, and then on the night when stuff goes on the Padlet, you literally do that together at the same time, talking through your choices and placements through Google Hangout. What a great point. I think in terms of sometimes that kind of creative energy is what really, you know, 1 + 1 = 3 when in terms of that kind of creativity. Good point. Other questions you have about this little activity? So there are really two strategic goals here. You guys understand that we're practicing how to collaborate in a fully online environment, because the whole of professional librarianship is about collaborating through digital media. That's how the American Library Association runs. Right? They only see each other twice a year at midwinter and annual, and the whole rest of the business of the organization is done through digital collaboration. So you guys are practicing. Can you build something together through digital collaboration? I'm positive you can make something beautiful and interesting. And then the second thing that I'm hoping that you do is really dig deep into that resource that you've been assigned. Your bulletin board, in a way, should be kind of like a substitute for me spending an hour digging into Voya or Common Sense Media. You're sharing the work you did to understand that resource with me and share it efficiently. So that's a very great act of generosity. And if you do it well, that bulletin board becomes a very valuable tool for me to learn more about that resource that I haven't had time to look at yet, right? So think of what a great act of generosity it is. So do a meaningful review that allows future librarians like yourselves and current librarians the opportunity to see some of those resources. One thing I learned in my needs assessment for the Media Smart Libraries project is that very few children's or teen librarians had ever even knew there was such a magazine called Children's Technology Review. They'd never seen it. So for many librarians, when you tweet out that link and show your display, there'll be an aha. People in the library community are not familiar with that resource. So that'll be cool. All right, any other questions you have before I go on? Okay, so now we're getting to the bitter end, but in a way, we're kind of preparing for the rest of the semester. You may actually, in the next week or so, stumble across other online sources of reviews. There are myriad places where you can find great reviews of books, films, and resources of all kind. Explore and then add something to our LSC 530 curated list. Perhaps you'll find a library website or a nonprofit organization, a government agency, your favorite young children or young adult blogger, vlogger, video production, audio podcast, music, social media website. If you go to the list, you can see that the students from last semester have already gotten us off to a good start, right? I put some stuff down, and students from last semester put some stuff down, so this list is just going to get longer and longer as it represents cool stuff that we're finding all over everywhere. So just be sure to link to your resource and explain what you like about it. So it really needs to be an annotated link, not just a link. Okay, so next week we're making a slight change to the syllabus. We're going to only read one thing, but we're going to read it carefully. We're going to read the YALSA white paper called The Future of Library Services for and with Teens. Have you guys read that yet or not? Thumbs up if you've already read it. Okay, got it. Well, this is really hot off the press. It was earlier this year in 2014. It's a white paper produced by YALSA, really addressing their perceptions of the future of library services for young people. So I would like you to read that, and as you read, use the Titan pad to identify what key ideas and insights are presented in this paper, what ideas are most appealing to you, which ones do you wonder about or struggle with, what questions does this report raise for you, right? So do some commenting on the reading there. That's really the only reading that we're going to do. But I do want to give you a sense of what's happening. Next week we'll have our regular class here, October 5th at 7 p.m. I'm so delighted that Christine and Aaron and Jordana and Lisa and Michael and Tammy that you were able to join us, and I hope next class we have a few more people. But notice what's coming up. The multimedia review, which is due November 3rd. That might seem like a long time away, but it's like a month from now. So please read over the assignment. In this assignment, you get to make a careful choice of children's media and develop a short video to communicate to an audience, a target audience of your choice. You can choose any form, book, film, music, game, app, or website. After posting your video online for public sharing, you write a brief reflection on your blog about your learning experience as a multimedia reviewer and author. So last semester, students asked me for some guidance about what kind of work should they create, and these three topics came up. And you can use these three topics as a guide, or you might contribute something else. One option is to do a promotional review. Reviews aim to attract the interest of readers, viewers, or users. This might be a book talk, or it might be a trailer, a movie-type promotion for a book, app, game, TV show, film, or other piece of media. You might do a story time, which is, of course, a key feature of children's library service. Story time is a form of performance or entertainment for young children, usually involving a read-aloud combined with other age-appropriate activities. Your story time may be live action or use a combination of images, language, and sound. And finally, you might want to write or create a critical review where you analyze or critique or offer a personal aesthetic response. A critical review is designed to analyze or deconstruct a work. Your review may use a mix of live action, images, and video clips. To develop your project, you might read my recommended steps in multimedia production from my website. These are the stages: the pre-production, the production, and the post-production phases of the work. In here, I've offered to share with you some very simple, free tools to make a video. So if you haven't done that before, these are terrific resources that you can use. And these are the criteria that I'll be using to grade your work. This work, I think, is worth 20% of your class grade. I'll ask myself, does your work perform, summarize, or analyze a book, magazine, film, TV show, music, app, game, or website designed for children ages 3 to 15? That's a range. Do you use appropriate codes and conventions for the type of work that you're creating, resulting in a quality product that has a clearly identifiable purpose, target audience, and point of view, using appropriate techniques to attract and hold attention? And does this work show evidence of creativity that reflects your unique personality, intellect, and character? Have you posted a short work of reflective writing about the process of creating this to your class blog? Now, if you want to work with a partner, you can do that. If you work with a partner, you must compose a longer reflective essay, emailed to the instructor by the deadline, that describes and analyzes the quality of the collaboration, including the advantages and challenges of working as a member of a creative team. Now, I bet you guys have lots of questions. We'll take 5 minutes for questions now, and then next week when we have our class, you can ask some more questions. What questions do you have right off the get-go?
I have a question about the last bit that says working with a creative team.
Yeah.
So would that be like if we chose to do something that was a performance and we, maybe at our local public library said I would like to do a story time or something, and you put something together, would that be like working with the other librarians?
That's a great point. In some ways, most media production involves a team, right? So in some ways, you may be working with a team that includes people you work with. It might your team might include people who are in this class, or you may go it solo. So you're free to determine how to proceed on this project. And yes, you can work with a team of people who are not enrolled in this class or people who are enrolled in this class, as long as you get the job done. What other questions do you have?
Could look at just to see what else has been done.
Oh yeah, well Lisa, as you know, since you had me for another class, you know that if you use the hashtag LSC530, you're going to find a whole lot of stuff from students who took this class before. And truthfully, I kind of don't want you to look at, because some of it is so good, you guys are going to be intimidated. Okay? But yeah, sure. You go online, you're going to see all kinds of cool stuff made by students from the Harrington School of Communication and Media, University of Rhode Island, graduate program in Library and Information Studies. Students did an amazing amount of great work for me last spring and this summer. So yeah, what other questions? So yeah, you can find models all over the place. And of course, you've already started to see them yourself, like even the things we looked at tonight, right? All right, so what other questions do you have for me?
I have a question about making a video.
Yes.
You showed us a list of all the different software and stuff. Does it work any differently with, does it work similar to Flipgrid?
Actually, the one that's closest to Flipgrid is the one we're using right now, Michael, and that is Google Hangout. You haven't yet tried to make a on-air Google Hangout. That's a recorded Google Hangout. It's literally one click, right? All I do to start this thing tonight, which is, after all, going to be a YouTube video. As soon as it's done, it automatically goes to YouTube. All I have to do is one click, right? And so you can see how this tool could be a video production tool where you toggled back and forth between this is the camera right here, right? And I could actually turn it around. I could show you my living room, right? My husband. I could use it like a camera, and I could also use it like a display for PowerPoint slides. So Google Hangouts probably one of the simplest tools to use because there's really very little learning curve. I'm also a big fan of the tool called Videolicious. If you have a smartphone, Videolicious is a free video production app that works on your phone, and I've used it with like 9-year-olds. It's really simple, and it's like there's only 3 buttons, and you press the first button, and you press the second button, you press the third button, and up it goes to YouTube, and you've made a video. So you're kind of on your own to figure out what tool is best for you. But first you have to have a concept, right? You have to have an audience and a purpose and a point of view. That's the hard work. And then you start taking some time to figure out how to produce it. That's why that deadline is still a month away. If you think about, you have about 3 weeks to complete this assignment. This week you should be thinking about the ideas that you want to communicate. You're going to need to pick a resource to review, think about a purpose and a target audience. Then in week 2, you should be thinking about what production tools are you going to use to create your video. And in week 3, you should be polishing it and perfecting it and writing about what you did. So that's kind of what I'm imagining you're going to be working on for the next 3 weeks. What other questions do you have? Okay, you guys will have more questions, and I will look forward to answering them on the Twitter. On the Twitter sphere, I will answer any questions that you have, or in the section, ask questions and get answers here. In any case, I want to thank you guys for joining me live tonight. It's so much more fun when I actually have real students, because I feel like I get to know you when you show up at this. So Tammy and Michael and Lisa and Jordana and Christine and Erin, I know you're there. Thanks for joining me tonight. You guys, will see you next Monday night. Thanks for joining us. I'm Renee Hobbs. This is LSC 530. Live long and prosper, you guys. See you next week.
Bye.